Hey, everybody. Welcome to our Sunday coffee. Today, we're talking about comparisons. So, we'll get into that in a little bit. Like when to compare yourself to people, when you shouldn't compare yourself to people, and like what should you be comparing yourself to? We all do it. I'm not going to say you shouldn't be doing that because, frankly, you probably should be in a way. I do it all the time. And sometimes it can be healthy, other times it's really unhealthy. It just depends on how you handle it. So we're going to talk about that. But in the meantime, kind of get rolling here. We have a beautiful day, and you can't see it through my window because it's all blown out right now. But it is gorgeous outside right now. It's going to go up to almost 60 here in Pittsburgh. And I was just driving around. I went to the gym and went to the hardware store to pick up some pellets for my smoker today because we are going to smoke some baby back ribs and I'm going to smoke some chicken quarters too because Aldi has chicken quarters on sale right now for 49 cents a pound. So we're going to load up on chicken quarters. I'm going to smoke that stuff and then we have food for the rest of the week. And then the baby backs are just because I've been dying for barbecue, and with the weather like this, I have to take advantage of it. I haven't smoked anything since maybe the Super Bowl, and I don't even think I did much then. It might have just been wings, which not a big deal. In fact, no, I didn't even do that for the Super Bowl. It was like I was maybe even Christmas. Maybe that's what it was. But it's been a while. It's been a long time. So I'm going to fire up the smoker today. Do some baby backs. I'm not a huge baby back rib guy on the smoker because baby backs are really hard to manage. They can dry out if you do them just a little bit too long. I tend to do spare ribs, but spare ribs take just a little bit more effort in preparing them. So trimming them and making them look good. So I'm doing baby backs today. And we're going to try to watch the Penguin game, which we talked about yesterday in the group video, right? I could not watch the Penguin game at home. I ended up going to the local brewery and watching it there. Although it wasn't worth watching, we got killed. So like halfway through, I just wasn't paying attention anymore. But we'll see if we can go today. I think we're playing the Capitals today, so we'll see how things go today. But I'm gonna sit down with my boys, eat some lunch. I'm gonna try to eat incredibly healthy today to balance out the ribs that I'm gonna be eating later on tonight. And you know, it's all about trying to keep a balance. Trying to keep a balance. Earlier this morning, I got up. My boy woke me up at like 7:30. It's funny that they always wake up before they are supposed to wake up on the weekend. Actually the older one slept in, but the younger one got up at like 7:15, 7:20. We normally wake them up at 7:30 on school days, but because it's the weekend, they wake up early. But on weekdays, I'm like 7:30. Come on, let's go, guys. Let's go. And we try. I try to make it like exciting. But 7:40, I'm going, guys, come on, we gotta go. It's every day, every day. What I found, and this is maybe a trick you can use on yourself. What I found is if I get them thinking, like if I ask them a question, like a weird question, and get them thinking, they immediately wake up. Like this, just like because it makes their brains do something, and it just awakens things that maybe they weren't prepared for or whatever. So I'm trying to think of a good example, but I couldn't remember. I can't remember what one might be. But just some kind of oddball question or some sort of odd fact and make them think a little bit, and then they're like, "Huh?" And they wake up and start talking immediately. So it's pretty cool. That or I just tickle them until they can't stand it anymore and they jump out of bed. Whatever works. I'm putting the younger one to bed last night, and he likes to snuggle like for a couple of minutes before going to bed. So I jump into bed with him, and I'm looking up at his wall, and I found his booger wall. I don't know any of you that have had kids have experienced this. We did with our older one, and he got in trouble and had to clean it himself, and he's never done it again. But now we found the 6-year-old's booger wall, and so yeah, it's gross. Good morning in beautiful Fort Myers. So we're I was looking at it. I'm like, hey, Ryan, who's been putting boogers on your wall behind your bed? He's like, I don't know, Dad. I said, well, maybe it was Nicholas. Oh, no, I don't think it was Nicholas. Yeah, I bet you it was Nicholas. He's going to be grounded for a week. No, it wasn't Nicholas. It wasn't Nicholas. I said, I bet you it was Mommy. Mommy did it. When Mommy gets home tonight, I am going to talk to Mommy. She is going to be up here scrubbing these boogers off this wall. I can't believe she did that. No, I don't think it was Mommy. Don't get mad at Mommy. Oh, I wonder who it was. I don't know. But I don't think it was Nicholas or Mommy. It was hilarious. Like, he is that kid that, like, even if he's not wrong, like when Nicholas is torturing him, and like just I mean how big brothers are with their little brother, and Nicholas gets in trouble, Ryan like I don't know if it's empathy or what, but Ryan like covers. He's like, Dad, it was all my fault. I did it. Like he doesn't like feeling responsible for somebody else being in trouble. So um, it's pretty cool. I don't know if it's an emotional intelligence thing. I don't. Somebody better than me would know. But this whole thing with the booger wall, I see I see scraping that stuff off the wall in my near future today. Gross, gross. And then I got to do because it's so nice outside right now. I'm gonna definitely try to get outside and do the leaves because we still have a lot of leaves in our backyard. I want to try to get up so it's dry. Hopefully no ticks, although I guarantee there are because we have a ton of deer. And speaking of Florida, so my father's in Florida, and I can't survive a day without him trying to recruit me to move to Florida. And so, the first nice day we get here where my sunroof is open and I can drive with the windows partially down because it's still sort of like 45, 50 degrees. Um, he, uh, I say, hey, how you doing? I'm driving around with my windows down. Birds are chirping. Birds are chirping. I looked outside the window today in the morning and saw a cardinal and a robin chasing each other around in the backyard. That's awesome. Spring is almost here. And he's like, yeah, well, your brother and his friends are sitting outside having breakfast on the lanai up by the pool. He's always got to one-up me. You people in Florida are so spoiled. Until you have a hurricane. Until there's a hurricane, and then talk to me. That's my thing. That's why I won't move to Florida. I'm not running from any hurricanes anytime soon. There's no tornadoes in Pittsburgh. There's no hurricanes in Pittsburgh. There's no floods. At least not if you live in the hills. Come on down. Good morning, Jan. Good morning, Sheila. Yeah, I would love to visit. In fact, I'm visiting for my sister's 21st birthday in mid or late March. So I will be down there, and I'm looking forward to it because I love Florida in the winter. In fact, one of the best times, oddly enough, when my grandmother was sick with cancer, I visited Florida in January. And the experience of being able to walk around outside and having all the doors and windows open in the house and the breeze coming through was amazing. Amazing. Some of the best weather I've ever experienced. And I just, I know the summers are oppressive, and I really seriously do not want to put up with a hurricane. And I know they're few and far between, but that one time when there's no electricity for a couple of weeks and there's flooding and the house is damaged and dealing with all of that, not really in the mood for that. I've lived through one typhoon in my life, and that's all I need. That's all I need. It's weird. Your comments are not showing the names. Like I can see come on down, but it doesn't show the name of who posted it. So I have to look over here on Facebook. So if it takes me a while to get on to you guys, I'm sorry. Good morning, Lori. Good to see you too. So I got Lori, Belinda, Sheila. That's the way it is today, Belinda. Yeah, I know, because like he was telling me, it seems like this weekend everybody is posting how nice the weather is, and I guess maybe it's everybody on the East Coast. I guess it's just clear skies and great weather all up and down the East Coast right now, which is great. And no matter where you are, you have the sun, which is, even if it's cold, it's still sunny, which is awesome. I need that vitamin D. I actually have to take vitamin D supplements. I take like 1,000 U's or whatever they call it because my vitamin D has been low in the past. And sitting outside would just be a really nice thing right now. So I'm going to actually try to do that. I'll be doing that when I'm smoking my ribs, and I'll be doing that when I'm cleaning the leaves. And I have my noise-canceling headphones, so I'm going to be out there blowing leaves around while listening to a good podcast or a good audio book. Anything I can do to continue my education while I'm doing things that I absolutely hate. I hate cleaning up leaves. So, yeah. All right. So let's get rolling here. I want to start with Sunny and 50s in New Jersey. Yeah, yeah, it's beautiful. It's going to be almost 60 here today. Really excited for it. So today I wanted to talk about comparison. Um, it occurred to me last week. I have these thoughts. I always have these thoughts when thinking about like health, exercise and weight and diet and all that stuff, right? Because it's one of my sensitive areas personally. Um, but even otherwise, like you see a lot of comparison with where people are in their day and their productivity, how much money we have. There's all sorts of ways to compare yourself to others, and it can be incredibly healthy. Um, but it can also be incredibly unhealthy. And I think we just have to make sure we have the proper perspective with this. And that's sort of, why analyzing why we think about things is pretty important. Um, I see. So Jan has her light therapy light on. I have an aunt that had one of those things. Especially like up here, or like Pittsburgh has uh, uh, clouds like almost as much as Seattle, so people need them here. So very cool, very cool. See, you're getting all sorts of health coming this way. But those comparisons are rough, and it's funny. Like I was just, in thinking about like all of the different types of ways we compare ourselves. I was at the gym this morning, and I'm not in the greatest shape. I'm getting better. In comparing myself to where I was a couple of months ago, I am a lot better. Comparing myself to where I was 3 years ago or 2 years ago, I'm a little chunky. So, I go to the gym, and there's people there. Like there's the super fit women. Like there's a woman there that's there every day, and she's probably 50s, 60s, and she's got all her gear on. She's got her hat and her all her workout gear and shorts and gloves, and she is just like she's crushing it every day. Like she's not lifting heavy. She just does her thing, man, and she's there consistently every day. There's young, old, whatever. Everybody's doing their thing, and then the guys are always in a way comparing themselves to each other. Some guys that don't care, but I always I watch like the bigger guys, just trying to I give myself a benchmark like where I am from a strength perspective, looking at how much and reps and things, and not so much trying to judge, but like give myself maybe a goal to reach otherwise, or in the future, like, oh, I could do that. If I push myself, I could do that, especially if you don't have an accountability partner. Like that's good. That's a good way to kind of measure yourself a little bit. It's absolutely natural. But today I was doing arms, and I was lifting heavy today because it's one of my heavy weeks. And there's a guy, this young kid actually, he's probably mid-20s, late 20s, I'm guessing. But he's got like real long hair, and it's all blown out, and he's got the beard, and he's got his lifting shirt on, the cut off shirt, and he's literally like every time he gets done doing reps, he gets up and he racks his weights, and he's like dancing around and like making big body movements, and then like when he's done doing, like, he gets off the machine and he comes over and does free weights, and then every time he's done with that, he like hacksaw Jim Duggan. Like, how about that reference, right? He like hacksaw Jim Duggan's like around the gym, and you can tell like he's eyeballing all the guys, like he's completely peacocking for everybody. And at that point, my response is, that's probably not healthy comparisons, right? That's almost, you're taking it to an unhealthy level where, look, most people, like, he's trying to show off, and nobody there cares, especially at Planet Fitness. Like, that's kind of like Planet Fitness isn't exactly that place where you go to be a musclehead. And the old guys like me and the older ladies, they don't care, right? They're just like, who's this guy, right? I'm just trying to lift my weights in peace or run in peace, whatever. But so he's taking it from a like, I'm better than you perspective, right? He's looking at like, I'm better than you guys. I can lift this. And meanwhile, like, watching his form, it just looked unhealthy. Like, he's swinging things around. It looks like he's begging for joint damage. And that's all I was thinking the entire time. Like, really trying never to make eye contact with the guy because I didn't want anything to do with him. It's not like an intimidation thing. I didn't even want to have anything to do with the guy. Like, keep walking around, just walk away from me, right? And but you can like, I could tell, like, he's just, there's something going on there that he needs to get some sort of, some sort of emotional stability or support from being better than other people. And we see it. You see it with people with money. You see it with people that are trying to compare relationships, especially in social media. You see people posting all these photos of themselves. A lot of the times they're untrue, and most people then are comparing where they are compared to those people. And so, and maybe at another time in my life, I would have looked at this guy and thought, well, he's stronger than me, he's bigger than me, maybe I am intimidated, right? And I think you have to get to a place where you are comfortable with yourself, and know that, while somebody may be ahead of you in a certain part of their lives, there are many different facets of your life where you may be ahead of them, where you have room to grow, and maybe they're not growing. Maybe they're receding or declining, right? So, I look at it like, if you've ever played one of those like role playing video games where like the different characters have different health, or if you watched that Jumanji movie with like The Rock, where they each have scores, right? Strengths and weaknesses, and like one's incredibly smart, the other one's incredibly strong, but like, cake is his weakness. I think the smart one actually had cake as his weakness, so he eats cake and explodes and dies. But you can be strong, you can be smart, but then be really slow, or and that's basic, but we all kind of have that, right? We all have a different level. Some of us are more agile, some of us are more emotionally intelligent, and there's different things within emotional intelligence that we each have a strength in. So we can't compare ourselves to other people in that, like, that person's better than me. They're just in a different place than us. Now, you might be better than them from a financial perspective. They may be better than you in a relationship perspective. But that's not to mean that it's locked in. It's not a video game where you're locked in with those parameters and you can't change that. And that's what all of life is about, deciding which strengths we're going to capitalize on, that we're born with and we capitalize on, and which weaknesses we want to either work around or try to fix. And there's those are decisions that we have to make, but we can't put a ton of time into one thing without going out of balance. And that's, when we're comparing ourselves to others, we have to understand that that person is probably sacrificing something else to be really good in one place. So if you say, like, if I were to say to myself right now, or to you right now, I will be the richest person in the world. If I say that, and I'm committed to doing that, my behaviors have to change incredibly, right? I mean, I will probably be sacrificing sleep every day, right? I will probably be sacrificing relationships every day. I will have to step on people. To be the richest person in the world, you probably have to be just a little bit ruthless. At least if you're going to get there, especially from like my perspective at 42 years old, I'd probably have to lie, cheat, and do a lot of things that I might not want to do to be the richest person in the world. So, and whoever that is, I don't even know who the richest person in the world is right now. It might be that guy from China, but who knows? But, like if you look at a guy like Carnegie was responsible for a lot of deaths in his lifetime because of, the way he treated steel workers and everything else, right? So we don't need to go on to that. My point is that my life needs to change considerably if I want to be the richest person in the world. I could also be the most emotionally intelligent person in the world, and I can study emotional intelligence, and I can work on and practice my emotional intelligence. But then I might be sacrificing how much wealth I may have or want right? So like if I wanted to be the healthiest person in the world, if I wanted to be, Mr. Olympia or whatever, and be the most jacked, healthy, lowest body fat person in the world, I would have to give up the barbecue ribs that we're talking about today. I would have to give up pretty much anything else. I'd be working out 4, 5, 6, 8 hours a day. I don't even know what that schedule looks like, but I probably would see my kids a lot less. I would probably see my wife a lot less. I would probably never go out and socialize. I would be committed to making my body as healthy as possible while letting other components of my life degrade. So don't compare yourself. Like when you are comparing yourself to other people, you have to take it from a perspective of what component of their life do I want, and what is it going to take for me to get that? And when you think about that, are you willing to give up what you have now to get that? So for me to be the richest person in the world, I don't want to give up what I have right now to attain that. So I have to pick out maybe the best components of what made them money and utilize some of that, realizing that if I'm only going to take parts of that structure, parts of that process, I'm only going to make a fraction of the money they made. But that might make me happy, because I also want to have a healthy relationship with my kids. I also want to have healthy friendships. I also want to feel good about how I made my money. So I need to make sacrifices in what I'm willing to do to earn money so that I don't go out of balance in other areas of my life. And when you take it to using, define my day and being disciplined in your actions every day, you can't, especially in the user group, like you see people that have been using this product for a year or maybe even 2 years now, and they're doing incredibly well. And a new person's going to come in here and say, I can't do that. I can't wake up at 5 in the morning. I can't do 25 disciplines every day. I can't attack 3 priorities hardcore every day because I can barely get what I'm doing now done. And that's okay, right? You just have to take components of what somebody else is doing and integrate it into your day to take a step forward. And so you just do what you can right now. And when you're making that comparison, the comparisons you want to make are, you want to select that person that you want to most be like. You want to find that, the family person you want to most be like, or the retired person you want to most be like, whether they're traveling or working or whatever. The Define My Day user you want to most be like, that you most admire. You want to sort of follow that person, take the best parts of it, and realize that there may be things they're sacrificing otherwise that you might not be willing to sacrifice. And that's okay. Your results might be a little bit different, but they're probably going to be better. So it's okay to compare yourself to that person, but realizing that it's not perfect in the same way that you're not perfect. The unhealthy comparison that I think a lot of people make is when you say, at least I'm not like this one. At least I'm not like this person, right? So we justify our actions and our results by comparing ourselves to like the worst example, as a healthy or as a person trying to get more healthy, you look at somebody unhealthy, like somebody that you would relatively say is less healthy than you would look at them and say, well, at least I'm not like that, right? That's the wrong comparison to make. Number one, you're putting down somebody who's going through their own struggle. But two, you're not making a comparison looking forward and reaching forward. You're making a comparison saying, well, at least I'm better than that person, almost justifying every excuse that you're making for not reaching forward, for not moving forward. And that can happen with our daily stuff, right? Like we see somebody that's struggling through a process or a part of Define My Day, and we might say to ourselves, well, at least I'm not going through that. Well, at least I can do my disciplines every day. Yeah, sure. But what are you doing to move forward? That's almost justifying stagnation. So we want to compare ourselves to the best examples, the best, most healthy examples, and strive for that. So when I'm looking at somebody in the gym, I'm not looking for the guy going hacksaw Jim Duggan around the gym. I'm looking for that like 50-year-old guy that's got like a low body fat percentage, that's got a decent athletic shape, like what I want. So I'm looking at that guy going, what's he doing right now? Where is he from a strength perspective? What's his routine look like? That's the guy that I'm looking for, because in 8 years, 7 years, that's what I want to look like. He doesn't need to drive a Mercedes. He doesn't need to have the best relationship in the world. I'm looking at that component of his life and saying, what is he doing from a health perspective to get there? I don't care about all the rest. He might be an awful person, right? I'm picking out the one thing that I like about his life, and I'm taking that. Now, if he had to sacrifice all the other stuff to get to that place, then I have to adjust my expectations. I have to say, well, maybe I don't want to look like that because it cost him all this other stuff. So maybe I need to adjust my expectations a little bit about what I can attain. But I'm not looking at the really unhealthy guy. And, we see them, the really unhealthy people that are at the gym because they're fighting off, serious disease or early death because, they've let themselves go for too long. I'm not looking at that guy. I'm not going, well, at least I'm better than that guy. That's nowhere near where I want to be. That's nowhere near where I want to be. So I'm not justifying where I am right now based on that person. I'm looking ahead to where I want to go. So, and we see that, it's funny, like the stories, like financially, we have friends. I have a friend that's a pretty high up executive with a local company, and they're by all accounts doing incredibly well for himself. And we were at dinner with them probably about a year ago, and realized that like at our age, like at my wife and I's age right now, this guy was living in a trailer. Like he had no expectation that he was going to be where he is right now. So while he might not have followed the perfect plan, while he might not have made as much money as he thought he was going to make, 20 years ago, he was by all accounts broke. And he made changes, and he kept pushing forward, and he was looking to where he wanted to go, and he kept on that path. And to me, that's inspirational. I'm not looking at other people around me going, I make more than them. How awesome am I? Right? That's it. Like somebody can pass me up pretty quickly that way, right? Like we don't know what somebody's doing in the background. We don't know who's hustling in what regard. So when we're comparing our present self with the people that are behind us, whether they're coming up behind us or not, like that's not doing anything good for us. Now we can look at people and see bad behaviors, and I do this. I'm actually sort of like a student of bad behaviors in a way. Like I look at people that have bad habits and bad behaviors, and I can say to myself, well, that's something that I want to make sure I'm not doing. Or, that's something that if I could sit down and talk with that person, I would talk about that, right? So, it's odd. Like, and it's actually how I come up with some of my topics here is that I can see, in my life, I can see like a simple example is the cashier that we talk, like I've talked about in the past, like walking through the grocery store and coming up with a cashier who's just miserable, right? And like I can say hi and how are you and how's your day going and whatever, and they have zero interest in talking, right? They're just miserable. And and I think to me that's sad, right? And so that's how I come up with like this, because I can't experience that because I don't experience that right now. I probably did at some point in my life. I know I did at some point in my life where like every moment just seemed like agony. And I think that when, if I could talk to that person, and I imagine I'm talking to that person when I talk in these videos, is that like we gotta live no matter what. Like we have to be around no matter what. We're breathing no matter what. And we should enjoy it. And to me, it's sad that you're not. And so how can you enjoy this moment? And if this moment's that bad, how can you get out of it? What can you do for yourself to get out of it? So I'm not like comparing myself to that person, if we want to try to relate this back to the topic right now, but I am observing their behavior and using it as an example of how I would not want to be, right? And if I can see my components of myself in that person, and maybe I don't like those components, it's easier to see them in other people. And then when you can ask yourself, am I like that? Am I doing that? And if so, then I need to stop. And so what can I do? What can I swap out that mindset with, something else, something more healthy that will help me move forward? So does that make sense to everybody? Like, is that like, is there any part of this that I'm missing or not clear on? It's a matter of perspective. Like I look at people, like there are people in this group from a business perspective that I look at and go, wow, I need to get where that person is, right? And so I look at how they handle their day, and I'm not feeling bad. And I guess this is like one of the big things that I didn't talk about yet. From a perspective. Um, I don't want to feel bad about where I am compared to somebody else for not being where they are. I want to learn how to do it and get there. That's that growth mindset, right? So I'm not where they are right now, but I can be. And so wherever you are in life right now, whatever you're feeling bad about, you have to decide if you feel bad about that for a good reason, or are you worried about judgments from other people that don't matter? Like, we can talk about that some other time. But those things that you're experiencing right now, where you're comparing yourselves to others, or you're comparing yourself to others, is it a valid comparison? Are they giving up other things in their life? Are they doing things that you're like, I couldn't live with that? Well, then maybe you're okay where you're at. But if you do want to change, if you're comparing yourself to somebody else and you're saying, well, they're ahead of me here, I don't like that. Well, are you going to sit around and feel sorry for yourself? Or are you going to take the steps that you need to take to get to where they are or surpass them? That's possible. You just have to decide to make the sacrifice to do it. Are you willing to make those sacrifices? Are you willing to give up other things? I'm not willing to give up the things that I would need to give up to be the richest person in the world. I'm not willing to give up the things that I would need to give up to be the healthiest person in the world. I'm not willing to give up the things that I want to be the most disciplined person in the world. My goal, my overall goal, is to be happy with who I am now. And if there's something about myself that I'm unhappy with, then I compare that to the things that I see in other people that I admire, and then try to bridge that gap. And a comparison that I want everyone to make, that I try to do better myself in making, is comparing myself to where I was a year ago, or even a few months ago. That's a comparison we need to start talking about. What progress have I made in the past year? Where have I declined in the past year? How do I feel about that? Looking at my overall health in the past 2 years, I wasn't happy with the comparison of me 2 years ago compared to the me now. That's a comparison that I didn't like. I didn't like the results of comparing those two people. I needed to make changes to fix that. But now when I look at other components of my life, how I spend my days, the relationship I have with my boys, I look at those comparisons and I'm a lot happier. I like the progress I've made. I can go back and open up one of these Define My Day books from 2 years ago and see what I was striving for then in a business, in my relationships, and I can say I am happy with the progress I've made. That doesn't mean I'm going to stop. But that comparison to my past self shows me, whether I see it daily or not, it shows me the progress that I've made. So I compare myself, like looking backwards, I compare myself to my old self, and I can see where I've made my progress or have not. Looking forward, I'm looking to other people to give me something to compete against, right? Understanding that it's all fluid and understanding that people, you know, like level up in different areas and all that. But I'm picking components of the best examples of my life, and I'm looking at how they handle situations, how they relate to other people, what they've done, what books they've read. That's what I'm doing to move forward. What are these people doing? What are the activities in this specific area that I want to level up in? What are their activities? What are they doing to move forward? And how can I reach their level? But I can't walk around going, well, I'm better than that guy. I'm better than that guy. I'm better than that guy. I'm better than that woman. I can't do that because that's taking a snapshot of something static and using it to justify why I don't need to grow somewhere else, or why I don't need to grow in this area. Well, because I'm better than that person already. What do I need to grow for? That's a terrible attitude. Terrible attitude. And that leads to just some garbage stuff. And I'm not going to say I have never done that. I can't think of a place where I'm doing it right now, but I know over the course of my life I have done that. I've justified my feeling good about a crappy situation because somebody else was in a crappier situation. I would try to avoid that. And if it comes up in my life again, I'm going to avoid it again. I'm going to reshape that perspective. And I would ask that you do the same thing. All right, let me check out the comments here. What do we have going on? I got some good mornings. Quiet group this morning, though. What's going on, everybody? We actually had more people commenting last. Maybe I've been talking too much. If I've been overwhelming the conversation, we had more comments yesterday when I kind of jumped on in that impromptu, like, "Hey, I'm back. I'm back." Talking about comparison, man. My last week compared to like anything, like, oh my god, it was a mess. It was a train wreck. Melissa and Kathy, good morning. Good to see you guys. Thanks for joining me. So, what's everybody doing today? Let me ask you that. What's everybody else got going on today? The weather's nice. Generally, I haven't seen anybody say anything about there being weather bad. What are you guys doing today? Everyone's outside in the sun. You are probably correct, Jan. Who wants to sit and watch me at 11 o'clock in the afternoon or noon when there is a incredibly sunny day outside? I agree. Sheila, running my race is my goal, not to compete, but to inspire others to run their race. That's awesome. Here, I'm going to put that one up here. It's yeah. So, that's a thing. Like, so I'm not competing against any individual from an overall perspective. I compete, and I think competition is good. I compete with others based on a singular area. So there might be somebody who is in a different place in this industry, right? And I would compare myself to how I handle situations and, you know, like how effective I am at communicating, right? I will compete there because that's what keeps people striving forward. So I don't think competition is wrong. I like competition. I think there's just a healthy way of looking at it. And so whether it's running a race, you know, trying to get a better time, or competing to be more effective at communicating, competing for a promotion, you know, whatever it is, I think competition is good. I think it drives us forward. It's completely natural, but there's healthy and unhealthy ways of doing it. And I think, you know, I think being healthy and, you know, for me, I think, you know, trying to lift everybody else up. You know, I might be competing against you, but at the same time, there's room for all of us, right? Having sort of an abundance mindset there. Taxes, taxes, taxes. Yeah, I'm actually doing taxes right now. Taxes be crazy. Um, Getting ready for the week ahead. Absolutely getting ready for the week ahead. I'll be doing that tonight. Comparison kills contentment. Yes. And again, I think that's, you know, and I maybe we didn't hit the unhealthy aspect of it. Like you have to do something with comparison. Like you can't sit here and scroll through Instagram and look at somebody else's curated beautiful life and say, I don't have that. What's wrong with me? Like that's the wrong approach. Now, if you want, you can say, how did they get that? What do I need to do today to get that myself? I want that. I think that's okay. Again, as long as you're willing to give up other things and understand that you're only seeing a snapshot of their life. But we do that all the time. We all have family members, right? That's driving a nicer car, has a bigger house, you know? Are we willing to do the things that they have done to get what they've earned? And if the answer is no, then we could admire their nice house. We can appreciate and be happy for them that they have these things. Understanding that we don't necessarily want to do the things to get them ourselves. And that's okay. So I have family members with much nicer stuff than I have. I'm not willing to do the things that they did to get them. Now maybe I find out another way on my own. And when I have nice things, I'm going to understand that other people that weren't willing to do the things that I did to get them. Or maybe didn't know how. And if they want to know how, I'll help teach them. But if they don't want it, I'm not going to look down on them because they don't want it, because they didn't want to work as long as I do, or they didn't want to study as much as I did. You don't have to. You don't have to want to. But understanding then that you're not, you're getting the result you're getting. You're here and listening intently. And I hate that I can't see the names on this right now. The software isn't working correctly today. Hey, Deborah. Thank you. I appreciate you listening. And so that's a comparison, right? So for me, I listen to other people's podcasts all the time. I see other people doing what I do on a daily basis, and I compare myself to them regularly. And there are people out there that I listen to and I think, no, I would never, like, that's not what I would do. I would not be willing to do the things that this person does to get attention. Like, okay, so for like one thing is really popular influencers on social media post cars, or they'll even rent really nice cars and then take all these photos with them, right? That's, to me, inauthentic. So I'm not willing to sacrifice my authenticity to try to gain a bigger following, right? So that's me, right? So comparing myself, looking at that person, saying, I'd like to be able to have that large of an audience and that big of a voice, but I'm not willing to do that. So then I need to work on a different area that I am comfortable with. There's people, inspiring people out there that, that do great things. Now, what do they do? What components of their message or of their manner can I like emulate or work on and try to like be better than them in that regard? And I think that is a comparison that's okay. Jan says, I compete with myself to continue improving and learning. That's healthy. That's healthy. I compete with myself, my yesterday self, every day. Can I eat a little bit better? Can I do my define my day process a little bit better? Did I lose a little bit of weight? Can I fit into different clothing? Can I make a little bit more money? Can I wake up a little bit earlier? There's all these little spaces where I'm comparing myself to who I was yesterday and trying to be a little bit better. Can I be a little bit more present in a moment? Can I spend a few extra moments with my kids? Can I get to bed on time? Can I read a couple of pages longer? I'm comparing myself. God, I could go on like this for a while. I won't bore you. But I'm comparing myself to the previous me constantly, constantly. And that drives me forward every day. Can I do just one more thing? That is healthy. That is healthy. Jan, you hit it on the head. That is healthy. That's what we want to do. Can I just step forward just a little bit? Awesome. What are your favorite podcasts right now? So let me look it up real quick. Look up something. I'm having a major issue with comments and being able to see the comments on here. So I apologize to anybody if I miss your comment. If I did miss your comment, comment again and I'll respond back to you. So my favorite podcast right now, I subscribe to the Gary V audio experience podcast, but I don't listen to him too much. I am the Secret to Success podcast with Eric Thomas is one that I listen to a lot. I listen to him every week, and I like this content he's putting out now. But I am, and this is how like you see people growing, right? So I was listening to his. I've been listening like back through the episodes of his podcast, and I'm actually not liking the previous podcasts. They have like a more of a chip on their shoulders, and they're a little bit aggressive in a way that I don't like. And so while I'm looking at his content and the subject of his podcast right now, like the previous, say, 3 or 4 months are really good. But as you start to get in the previous summer, and I'm guessing the previous years, I'm making an assumption as I work my way back, there's kind of a judgmental thing going on there that I don't like. Now, whether they consciously grew from that or they actually made a decision, I don't know. Because in fact, in this one podcast, they reference like how bad they were the week before and how many podcast listeners they lost, right? And so, even like they were even talking about one guy, they were talking about previous relationships, and they were talking about how, one guy got turned down by a girl because his buddy was, the girl liked one of his buddies. And they're like, oh yeah, where's that guy now? Where's that guy now? And my first thought is, what does that matter? What does that matter? A girl made a decision to date somebody else. Where is that guy now? Maybe he treats her really well. Maybe they're not together anymore. Maybe it doesn't matter. Maybe he treats her really well. Maybe he's doing his own thing. Maybe he's not making as much money, but he's doing something else. So to me, like I'm not quite. There's still really good messages, but I'm not quite on board with some of the mentality in some of these older podcasts. So. I listen to a lot of social media marketing podcasts just to kind of like up my communication skills. Typology. If you have any interest in like how humans behave, Typology with Ian Morgan Cron. He wrote a book about the Enneagram that's really good. Talks about the different types of personalities and how you speak to different people. I like his a lot. Aubrey Marcus, the Aubrey Marcus podcast is good. It's like he's a little bit out there once in a while, but he does talks about health and like self-improvement type stuff. 10% Happier with Dan Harris, I believe he was CBS news anchor. He wrote a book, 10% Happier, where he discusses his meditation journey. He got a nice dry humor. I really like his podcast. The Model Health Show I listen to. I subscribe to the Rise podcast by Rachel Hollis. I don't listen to it. It's always one of those ones I thought I might start listening to, but I haven't. One guy. Oh, and now it says they've moved. Andy Frisella. I've tried to listen to him, but I don't. I feel like he goes negative a lot, so I don't listen to Andy Frisella anymore. Donald Miller, Building a Story Brand, is probably my absolute favorite podcast. The guy's one of the smartest business people I follow, and from a marketing perspective and a business in general perspective, and I would say the people he interviews, I read their books. Like he interviewed an FBI negotiator. I bought the book immediately. There's the woman who wrote the book Captivate about like captivating an audience. I immediately bought her book. Um, he has so many really good interviews. You could go back for the past 3 years and just gain so much knowledge, not just about marketing, but about life in general. Very good podcast. Definitely recommend listening to mine. And then the last one I listened to, that's I think worth mentioning here. No, actually, there's two more. So the Lewis Howes School of Greatness. He talks about just improving every podcast. So that's Lewis Howes. And then the last one is the Ed Milet Show. Ed Milet, I feel like pretty smart guy. Has some really good topics also. Again, with him, he started mixing in more shots of his house and his cars and things, and I get kind of like that bro marketing. I kind of get turned off by, so I stopped listening to him for a while. But I'm back on him, and he's had some really good interviews with people that even I've sat with my boys as he's interviewed like guys like Terrell Owens and sports figures. I've sat with my boys in front of the TV and streamed it on YouTube and had them watch it if it was a good message, which they generally are. So those are the podcasts I'm listening to right now. But I've been listen to Building a Story Brand every week, and Secret to Success with Eric Thomas. I've been listening every day. His content from the past couple of months very good. The previous I'm a little wishy-washy on. It doesn't mean it's not good. It's just not quite the mentality that I like. Mary Kay, gotta go teenager calling. What's that mean? With teenager calling? But thank you. I appreciate you stopping in. Thanks for saying hi. Hopefully get to see you tonight. So that's it. That's where I'm at. So I am going to start to wrap things up because I got to go get the ribs prepared and out on the barbecue. Hopefully, so they're ready for like 4 or 5 o'clock today. And go feed my kids some lunch. I'm gonna go load up on the vegetables, so I am prepared for ribs tonight. But yeah, I hope everybody enjoyed. I hope you got something out of this. If you have a comment, if you're watching this later or listening later, please leave a comment. And if you have any questions, I can respond back through a comment or respond back in a later video. I do, although last week we fell off, I do a morning video every day in the user group here. So if you have any questions, please let me know. We can address it in one of the morning videos. And it can be about anything. It can be about define my day. It can be about comparisons, progress, relationship things. I'm not a relationship expert by any means, but I'm sure willing to talk about it and discuss it out. So I appreciate you joining me. I hope everybody has a great Sunday. Enjoy your day. Enjoy this beautiful weather. I hope it's as beautiful for you as it is for me right now. Have a great day, and I will talk to you tomorrow morning. Bye.